Hey everyone, you're listening to the Active Turnkey Podcast, a podcast designed for hands-off, passive real estate rental investors. In the Active Turnkey Podcast, you'll hear Tom Olson and Jared Stotmeister discuss all things turnkey rentals with other turnkey providers, service providers, and rental investors. Our goal is to help you reach your financial freedom and whatever comes after that. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Active Turnkey Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Stotmeister, and have with us Tom Olson, or the Tom Olson. And we're ready for another podcast today.
We are going to have a podcast about Active Turnkey, Jared, the best way to buy rentals.
Yeah, that's what we do here at the Active Turnkey Podcast.
Yeah, and we just talked about NAR in the last podcast. So if you guys haven't heard about the new NAR settlement and how it's going to affect real estate investors, go back and listen to that last one. I tell you, I think there's a lot of good information on it. And we've got a lot of information coming up on some future podcasts. But today, we wanted to talk about the power of belief in real estate. So I think it's going to be a good topic. But before we get started in that, Jared, we always want to we want to give you guys a little bit of lightheartedness at the beginning of these podcasts.
Absolutely.
So Jared has got just the funniest joke you've ever heard in your life.
It's a real humdinger, guys.
It's
and so
definitely on the dad
yourselves.
joke side of things.
Oh yeah. Well, that's whatever. That's fine. You know, dad jokes. Dads already know they're bad, and so like kids are like, oh, that's such a dad. I'm like, yeah, it's I already know it's bad. That's why I'm saying it, and that's why it's funny. So your reaction, your disdain for my joke,
right, is what makes it so funny.
It's
so you guys know we're doing this on purpose.
I love it.
It's a test.
Good. So along that line, what kind of flower grows on your face?
Ooh.
What kind of flower?
Do I have any flowers on my face right now, Jared?
Not that I notice. Not that I can see.
Okay, good. So what kind of flowers grow on your face? I have no idea, Jared.
Tulips.
Ah, are you kidding me? It's not really a flower, but tulips do grow on your face. This is true. Right? I mean, everybody's got two lips.
There you have it, folks.
We need like the sound effects with Amelia or something.
We do.
To have something like that. All right, I got a joke, Jared. You ready here?
Let's do it.
What word has an E at the beginning and an E at the end of it, but only one letter in it?
In the word.
What word has an E at the beginning of it and an E at the end of it, but it only has one letter in it? Dun 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 dun. Dun, dun,
I got nothing.
Dun, dun. Okay. That's the wrong answer. The answer is envelope.
Wow.
Envelope.
But
got an E at the beginning
and
an E at the end, and it's only got one letter inside of it. The envelope.
I see.
See, one letter inside of it. See,
I get it now.
See, guys, I tell you that I knew that was good.
When you explanify it,
when you have to explain it,
makes sense. I get it. When you slow it down.
So, Jared, I was just at a conference, and I heard a speaker speak, and the speaker it was literally the first time he had ever spoken at a real estate conference.
Wow.
In fact, this gentleman is in his 70s. And he said he had come to this same conference 4 years ago. And when he came to this conference 4 years ago, he didn't do a good job saving during his life. He didn't do a good job, setting aside and having retirement funds. He was on Social Security. He might have had like a small pension or something from a previous employment. He was a teacher. And so he came to this conference and kind of looking for inspiration, looking for a community, just trying to hey, let's just see what's going on. And between that day and the day of this conference, when he was actually speaking here, he actually ended up doing over 200 real estate transactions.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And as he was telling the story, I actually got him to speak at the Real Estate Free-for-All here. And he's actually going to be speaking at the Real Estate Free-for-All September 5 through 7.
Well done.
And but he got up, and there were some key statements that he said that I just thought, hey, I need to bring this back to this podcast, because it was, I know this to be true. I've seen it to be true in my own life and in my own journey and in my own real estate world. And I've even seen it be true like in our own deals. And that is the power of belief. And what he said was like, I came here and I had no idea what to do. I came here and I was like, man, I want to get into real estate. I want to figure out what to do. I want to figure out how to be successful. And he really wasn't looking for passive income. He didn't have any money to be able to invest. He was just looking at a way to be able to figure out how to do life and how to continue on, and he came and he said, you know what? I felt people believe in me. People told me that they believed in me. And he's like, I didn't believe in myself, but other people told me they believed in me. And for a while, I had to work on their belief. I couldn't work on my belief because I didn't really have belief in myself, but I had to work on their belief. Jim told me I believe in you. Tom told me I believe in you. Pam told me I believe in you. And he said, you know what? I don't know what they saw in me. He's like, I have no idea what they saw in me, but I had to take that belief and I had to just borrow it. I had to borrow that belief that somebody else had in me, and I went out and did it. And then he kind of told his story a little bit, and he told a story about going to a RIA group. And that's one thing I'd tell you. If you want to get into real estate full time and you want to be more active in it, now, not if you're a passive investor, I don't know that a RIA group's really a great place. There might be some investments there that you can go to. Most of the investments for a passive real estate investor might be found at a family office club, or maybe found at like a 3-day meetup group. Like, for instance, honestly, this meeting I was just at, there was a lot of passive investors there that invest passively, and they invest in things like our fund, and they invest in things like turnkey real estate. But this gentleman got up and he said, I borrowed the belief from other people, and he went to this RIA club and he's like, what am I going to do? And they were talking about being a lender on this particular one. So he's like, and he made this statement. I thought it was so funny. And he's like, I finally figured it out. Like, I came to the RIA meeting and there was no lenders there. And he's like, man, there's got to be some. I mean, this seems like what an opportunity, supply and demand.
Exactly.
I want to go and be a lender. The only problem was he was $68,000 worth of credit card debt, and he didn't have any money. And he had to figure that out. He had to figure out how to be a lender without having any money of his own. And since then, he's done 200 lending deals in 4 years, starting really with no money. And to me, I mean, it's a great story, and you might think, oh, that's great, that's inspirational. But going back to how did he actually get there? How did he do it? He started, his whole thing was like, I had no idea how much the power of belief was gonna work for me. So he had to borrow that belief until he believed it enough, and so then he can go out and do the deals. But then also, I think it's also important for us to remember how much our belief in other people matters. How much your belief in your kids matter, and not just and you can't just believe in your kids. When Chuck talked about this whole thing about like, this person said I believe in you and this person said I believed in you, those words mattered. Those words, I believe in you, really, really mattered. So I want to encourage you, and I think there's a lot of different applications here. First of all, I think it's really important to get around other people that breathe life into you. It's important to go to meetings, to go to those local meetup groups, to go to the 3-day seminars, to go to the things where you're going to find people that are doing things that can talk to you. And honestly, you don't want to hang around the crowd, because in every group, in every community, you're going to find the naysayers, right? You're going to find the group of people that are out there, and all they want to do is be critical. All they want to do is, oh, well, I bet this isn't going to be the way it is, or I bet what's going to happen here. Like, you don't want to be around those people, and you don't want to be that person either. Yep. You want to be the person that's going out and saying, how can I help you? What is it that you need help with? I heard a statement this morning, and it kind of, I'm not sure exactly I don't think I remember, word for word what it said, but it pretty much went like this: if you go out looking for friends, you'll have a hard time. But if you go out looking to be a friend, you'll find people everywhere that you can help. So going out and and kind of looking for people that you can be an inspiration to, that you can breathe life into, that you can say, hey, I believe in you. You're going to do it. It really does matter. And, I think sometimes people get off the rails and they really want to be negative, and they want to call this self-help. They want whatever they want to call it. I don't believe it. It's even interesting. As a Christian, we even see this with Jesus when Jesus said, hey, if you say mountain be moved and you believe it, like he actually added those words. Your belief matters. It's kind of like a prerequisite to actually make the action happen. So I just want to encourage everybody to do a couple things. First of all, get into communities that breathe life into you, but also make sure that you're a type of person that's bringing the party with you. Sure. Be the type of person that's breathing life into other people and telling people, like I challenge everybody today, go out and find 3 people and just say these words: I believe in you. Yeah. Jared, there was a man who told me my 9th grade year in high school, he said, I believe in you. And he also said the words, I'm proud of you. Those 2 words, like I had never had a human being tell me that until I was in 9th grade. Wow. And I still remember that, like, wow, this, that feeling that you get that somebody says, I believe in you, that feeling that says, I'm proud of you. It really changes. It doesn't, and I think sometimes we don't do it because we might think, oh, that person might be proud then. That person, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to make that person proud. But really what you're doing is you're breathing life into that person. Sure. And when it comes to real estate, if you want to get something done, to me, I feel like there's goal setting and then there's actually doing, but really there's another prerequisite there before you actually do it. You've got to believe in what you're doing. Yeah. So find ways to be able. So let me ask you, like, what things do you do, Jared, that you think breathe life into you or breathe belief in you? Like, have there been situations in your life, Jared, where somebody said, "Hey, I believe in you. You can make this happen." And have you ever seen that happen in your life?
Sure. You mentioned that phrase, and the scripture comes to mind in Proverbs 18:24. It says, "A man that hath friends must show himself friendly." It's a proverb. It's not a promise. It's a proverb. Generally speaking, if you are friendly to other people, and which is you're acting like a friend, you're going to have friends. They're going to see that you care about them. And typically, if you're you're the type of person who won't compliment somebody, you probably see them as competition, and that's a very unhealthy way to live. And you're gonna be the opposite of this guy. You're not gonna have friends if everyone's competition. If everything, and you just can't compliment somebody. It's kind of like the love language concept. If you read the 5 love languages, I was reading through that, and one of the takeaways that I had from the love languages, mine is words of affirmation. So if someone says that they're proud of me, that means a lot to Jared. Okay, but what really jumped out to me was the concept that if I become aware of somebody's love language and I choose not to give it to them, I'm doing the opposite of love. I'm hating them. Like how what does that say about me if I don't do that? It's a horrible perspective. One thing, as you were talking, Tom, there have been some people though that when I see them, I think in many cases we all try to act like we have our things together or act together. But there have been people in my life where I felt like, man, I could never be like that guy. And I think part of it is the persona that we give off to people. And I know that this is just me talking. This is me help me. And there was one particular person where I just thought I could never do that. I could never do what he does. And frankly, I'll be more transparent. It was more like how to study and learn about the Bible and understand. And I felt like I could never do what that guy did. And it was completely false. But even from far away, I think it's very important for people to see that you are real. So you could do that whether you go to a person, which I think is more important. You go, like what Tom's saying, is you go to somebody and say, "Hey, I believe in you. I noticed you did that. That was great. We do this at our company all the time. We do what we call shout outs. And we say, who did you catch doing good? We like to see who we catch doing bad all the time, but who do we catch doing good? And then letting them know it, letting them know it. And so, but even further, or pushing back from there, from how we portray ourselves, even on social media, like, do you ever show yourselves to be a real person that has flaws? I mean, really, we all have them, and we generally try not to show them, but it almost makes it to wherever other people are like, oh, I could never be that person. I could never do that.
Yeah. I think what you're getting into is where, I think there's a lot of wisdom in being transparent to a certain degree, because it actually encourages other people.
Yeah,
and that's
totally.
kind of what you're talking about there.
Totally.
To me, I just want to encourage everybody to do a couple things. First of all, find 3 people today and tell them you're proud of them, or tell them that you believe in them. But also find those people that will do that for you. And to me, like, I feel like it's kind of like being a conduit, not a bucket, right? Like, go find people that will breathe life into you, and then go breathe that life that you got into other people. And I think when it comes to real estate, so we've talked a lot about this, but we haven't, like, how does this pertain to real estate?
Sure.
I think when you're trying to hit your goals and you're trying to really, like, reach something, this is what you need. You need that belief that, because I'm telling you right now, we're going through a period of economic times where it's not as easy as it once was. It's really not. So there's going to be deals that don't really, perform the way you thought it would perform. Houses may not sell for how much you wanted them to sell for. Tenants may not act as good as they have. I don't really know. I feel like they're kind of, it's almost back to normal right now, with tenants, but houses may not do as good as they have done in the past. Deals may not do as well as they've done in the past. And I think it's this belief that you've got to remind yourself to go back to. Hey, how do I get back to my belief in this? I used to work with a company that one of our core values was belief, and I forgot how much passion I had in that word, and why I felt like that word was actually really important, because it matters.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just what the point I wanted to get across of today. I think belief in your real estate journey, belief in your goals, and this is why I think even belief in financial freedom, and why you want to have financial freedom, and how financial freedom is not just so you can have freedom of time. I think, don't get me wrong, I think freedom of time is an important concept. I just don't think it's on the top shelf. I think it's a higher shelf than having a lot of money. I think having a lot of time is a higher shelf than having a lot of money, but I think it's a whole lot more than that. Like, in my opinion, it's really, who are you going to be able to positively impact? Sure. And that's more why I want to have financial freedom, or why I want to have, freedom of time, is because I want to be able to impact people. I want to be able to help the city of Gary, Indiana. I want to be able to help. And even, like, talking about belief, like, I've got to believe. Yeah. I was thinking about this when I was thinking about this podcast. I got to believe that, hey, the city of Gary can actually turn around.
Sure. Yep.
And how do I get that belief?
And there are people who would say, I don't believe that.
Exactly. 100%. So
we've heard it over and over. Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, those same people today that didn't believe it then are the same people now, like, trying to flip deals and trying
to. Of course.
But in my opinion, I don't think that I had everything to do with what's happened in Gary over the last 5 years. But what I do believe is that I had a part in it. I do believe that my belief in the city has had a part in positively impacting the city of Gary, Indiana. And I believe our real estate investors can also be a part of that. I think that that you can borrow the belief that we have to a certain degree, and you can kind of come be one of our active turnkey investors. You can loan us money. You can invest in our fund. You can come here to Gary, Indiana for our meetup group, or listen to our podcast, or jump on our free investor call, or come to our 3-day event and positively impact the city of Gary, Indiana. But you're going to do this some way or another. You believe in something.
It's true.
Right now, me and Jared are both sitting in these seats. We didn't check these seats out. We didn't make sure all the screws were screwed in. We just believed that these things were going to work, and that we were going to sit down, and it was going to hold us, right? You choose where you put your belief. Right. You can choose to put your belief in the news media, or in negativity, or you can choose to put your belief into things that will have a positive impact on humanity and have a positive impact on us here, our families, and eternity.
You know, I that's one of the things I love to talk about when we're on our first phone call is I love what I do because I see the value in it. And I try to tell people, hey, I'm not a big timer at all, but I do invest.
He's a big timer, guys.
I do invest. And I tell people, hey, I'm buying the house next door. That's what I try to tell. And in one case, I literally sold a house to one of our clients that we own the house next door. And I tell them that. I'm like, hey, I believe in it. I'm not just selling a doodad. And that's one thing I love about this is that I can be part of something and sell a product that I believe in to the point that I'm doing it myself. I love that I get to do that. And, you know, and as you were talking about this gentleman, and one thing that's great about real estate is it's not a respecter of persons.
Right.
You
Absolutely.
can do it. Whereas there's other fields, you just can't go walking in and do a deal. You can't, it's like you're walking into a network with dentists or doctors, and like, you're not going to go practicing. Don't recommend it. Yeah. And they're going to tell you that they're going to boot you. You're going to get yourself in trouble. There's all kinds of fields like that where you can't do that. But with real estate, I mean, you got these hot shots and these guys. And in fact, if you think about it back in the day with agents, like they didn't like wholesalers. Remember, I mean, for the longest time, but a wholesaler,
They
you
still
can do
don't,
it.
and wholesalers don't like agents. It's still a thing.
But I mean, I think I can see it. But I mean, that was one of the things, like, you can totally do it. You know, kind of elaborating a little bit on what I said before, but just if you've never done a deal, you look at a guy who's got 30, 40, 50, 100 doors, and you're like, man, I could never. You absolutely can. You absolutely can. We're telling you right now, you can do it.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So you can.
So I love that statement that Jared just said. You can do it. It's kind of part of our company culture. You know, be a conduit, not a bucket. And then I kind of started telling people, you can do it. You know, instead of being you can do it. But
Absolutely.
anyways, I want to just put that belief out there to you guys. If you guys are looking to have financial freedom in real estate, you can do it. If you're looking to be a help to be able to help your family, to be able to leave a legacy, to be able to, help a community, you can do it. And hopefully you'll take that today and you'll go out in the rest of the world and you'll breathe that belief into other people. And I'm just going to remind you, like, it is so important. It really does matter, especially with your kids, especially with your spouse, especially with people you work with on a daily basis, your boss, the people that work for you, your contractors, even, like, you know, breathing belief into them really does matter. And I just wanted to kind of have a podcast that's a little different than what our normal podcast is, but I thought it was important to do, Jared.
Tom, I have this concept, the idea, as we're talking, like, typically when you believe in something, you sacrifice a little bit for it.
Almost always. You almost always have to sacrifice.
That's really
for
interesting.
What you believe
I mean,
in.
I'm not going to elaborate. It's just something to chew on a little bit there.
Just a little seed there to plant.
What are you
there.
sacrificing today? That's where your belief is. That's interesting.
Well, that's going to do it for today's podcast, everybody. Hopefully you guys will continue to listen. If you guys have found value in this or any of our other previous podcasts, please give us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Please go to activeturnkey.com and find out information about our company. But you guys could also go to the podcast platforms and give us a review and tell your friends about this podcast as well.
We do build rental portfolios for investors, and we actually have a couple deals available right now. You can go to onegroupnetwork.com. You can see all of our team. We got pictures of our team. You can see the types of deals that we've done in the past. You can join our buyers list, and from there you get all the deals that come to you. You even get these podcasts come to you, and also you can even get a hold of me, and we can have a discussion, talk about what your plans are, what you'd like to do if you'd like to get in this market, and even schedule a visit. So that's, again, onegroupnetwork.com.
Onegroupnetwork.com. Guys can find out more information there. And honestly, like, we invite you guys to come out and visit us. Come out and visit us. We'll host you for the day.
That's right.
And also, if you're local, we do have a local meetup group. We can see you guys every single month. We also have a free investor call. You guys can go to goodsuccess.com and find out more information about that. And we do have a 3-day event coming up, September 5, 6, and 7, called the Real Estate Free for All. We have amazing speakers, amazing 3 days. I'm really excited about this. I honestly, I'm very humbled with the speakers that have decided to come this year. I had people seek me out that I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this guy actually asked me if he'll come speak at my event. Cool. And I'm excited about the event, and I know you'll have a good time. We'll have a charity auction at the event as well. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get out and see houses in Gary. If you come in a little early, maybe I can get you to kind of come out and see some of the houses that we got going on. But other than that, that's going to do it for today's podcast.
Active Turnkey.
The best way to buy rentals. We'll see you in the next one.
One Group Network makes no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice. Unless specifically stated otherwise, One Group Network does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast, and information from this podcast should not be referenced in any way to imply such approval or endorsement. Any third-party materials or content of any third-party site referenced in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the opinions, standards, or policy of One Group Network. One Group Network assumes no responsibility or liability for the accuracy or completeness of the content contained in the third-party materials or on third-party sites referenced in this podcast, or the compliance with applicable laws of such materials and or links referenced herein.